talking about Project Explorer, Cloud Explorer, and from Cloud Explorer, how we can connect to the different tenants. What is the connection name? How to select a URL? What kind of data centers that we have, right? And which data center to select? How do you see the tenant name in the URL? And then username, password. We talked about it, right? JWood is the username that
Yeah.
we were using, right?
Mhm.
So we talked about the connection and we talked about the perspective. So we go for a reset perspective. You go for a reset perspective, you'll get all the. So Anita, you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. Looks like my internet has a problem.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just doing a recap what we have done yesterday. Okay, so we talked about connections, and after connections, we talked about Schema Explorer. As part of Schema Explorer, we were going and selecting the the web services that are available, APIs, right? And then from the APIs, yesterday we selected, which one did we select yesterday? Get workers, actually,
Get
right?
workers.
So get wo- get worker. So from get worker, what we have done. So this is get workers. Right click, open soap wrapped, and then we got this a request, API request that we got it from API request. We prepared the request actually. What is it exactly we wanted actually, right? So that we
Uh,
prepared. Yeah.
One quick question. When you are opening the Get Workers, you are opening in a SOAP, right? So instead of
Mhm.
SOAP, shall we use a REST or any other type of format, or we need to open in only SOP? So
Uh, as that question again, one more time.
no. Can we open this one in a REST or XML or anything, or only SOAP? Sorry, I'm very new to SOAPs,
No,
JSONs,
no
and
problem.
everything.
See, this is just okay. So if you look at, give me a second. So you can search come on, Workday API. This is just a normal API. It's a public one. This is REST API, but I'm not looking for REST API. What I want, this is REST API. I want a SOAP API. Yeah. You see, just in a normal Google, you search Workday API SOAP, then you get the hit
Mhm,
actually, right? So now
mhm,
here, whatever the services that you see here, right?
mhm,
This is publicly available services, right? If you go inside absence management, inside service, you get multiple operations, right? Which means individual web services. So whatever the services that you see here, it is the same over
mhm.
here. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is the same over here actually. So all these items are we are opening through Studio. Okay. Now, if you don't have Studio, then this is where you will come and read. Okay, what are all the Workday web services that is given by Workday, and
Mhm,
what is that you wanted? You want human resources, then you go inside human resources, and then see all this web services that are available. And
mhm.
let's search worker. Oh, no. Get workers web service. You see here. Right?
Mm,
So from here, you can download the web service. Yeah, so this is a web service actually.
mhm.
When you click on this, where did it go? Okay, why it is going out? Get workers request. Yeah, this is request. Okay,
Suresh,
yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah, pistol actually. You see here, this is the web service that you see over here actually. Okay. So
Hmm.
here we have more explanation actually. So per tag, why this code is, why it is used for. Yeah, Anshuman, for your to answer your question also. If you open here,
Yes.
then this will say which is optional. What is the data that you have to enter for that particular tag? All this information will be given here, including comments. Yeah, which are all optional field. So you see here the response filter, response group. Yesterday I was talking about it, right? Okay, let me just show you again. This is request criteria, right? Response filter, and in the response group, and, and here we have a worker reference, right? So this is how you will see. This is request criteria, response filter, response group. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is how a web service is designed. So here you can prepare the web service based on your need. If my request criteria is only worker reference, right? So here there is a worker reference here actually, right? I can give only the worker reference. Rest all, if you notice, these are all optional. All are optional. So yesterday I deleted the request criteria, entire request criteria I deleted. Correct. So if you go here, this is the request criteria. Correct. All this request criteria I have deleted because all are optional. If I want to use this, I can use this. Yeah. What is this four dates? Have you attended core connector sessions? How core connector works? You have an idea?
No, not yet.
Okay. So for example, you want change detection for worker. I'm talking about Delta file, right? So you want to pick up the data that is entered between 9/6/2014 to 23/11/2013. That's the date is given here. So it will go and fetch data from here to here, 13 to 14, whatever the data that is entered and it is effective between these dates will be picked up. So if you want to use change detection as part of the web service, then you will be defining this. But this is optional field. So I'm not going to use this date field, right? Because of that, I'm removing everything. When I remove everything, what does this mean? Just go and pick up all the data that is available. When I don't give a worker reference, when I give a worker reference, then I'm telling the system, go and pick up only one employee. When I don't give any filter criteria, then it will go and pull all the data. That's what yesterday we have seen, 860K employees, right? Approximately.
So when you're writing the request criteria itself, you write the filters because you have a one more when you deleted it is a response filters are there, right? So I thought maybe
Response filter. Yeah. So
filters.
now here, this is a response filter. Yeah. So here you have response filter. So this response filter, we are telling the system how my record should be pulled out actually. Okay.
Okay.
So
So
in
modifying the format.
Correct. So here, as of effective date, as of entry date. Now, when I say response filter as of this date, it will go and pick up the data from 28/12/2018. So here you can give today's date, for example. Okay, then it will go and look for data as of today. And there is a request that is coming in. I want to get the data as of next month. Then what you will do? You will give a next month date here. Okay, so if you see here, the same you can look at over here actually, whatever I'm talking. So this is the one, right? So here we have 23/2, correct. If the ask is, I want to fetch the data as of March, right? Then this will pick up the data as of effective date 23 March, 23rd March. So what does this
Uh,
mean? Yeah, go ahead.
do we use the same filter on the request filter as well as the response filter, both places? Because I see the filter on two places here.
Uh-huh.
Above 24 02 23.
You're talking about this filter?
Yeah, this filter, whatever the filter you are showing it, it is in two places. One is a response filter place, another one is a request filter place.
So when you give the request, okay, so there are two dates that we have. This is for request actually. So you send the request fetching all this data.
Mm.
There are 100 data that we have actually, right? And
Okay.
then if you have response filter, you got an output, right? In that output, it will check, okay, whatever the data I have fetched, is it falling in that date range? That is what it will check. I
Got
mean,
it.
it should be this date or less than this. It should be less this date or less than this.
Okay.
Okay.
After fetching everything, you will
After fetching
apply the
everything.
filter on the
So,
response. Okay.
correct. Usually, we don't use this date if you are using this because this is a change detection, I said, right? So, if you are using change detection, then if you are using this, most probably we won't use this because this is an optional field actually. If you are not using change detection, now you think that there is no change detection that you are selected, right? Then you are telling the system, I'm deleting this. Then you are telling the system, just go and fetch all the data as of today. Okay, there is no change detection. This is like a full file fetching actually.
Got it.
Yeah. You want change detection, we will use that above date. If you don't want change detection, then you are telling the system go and fetch the date as of whatever the date you are giving it actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we
Hmm?
don't mention the date, so it picks the current date, right? If
Correct.
uh,
If you don't,
okay,
yeah, in Workday, if you don't mention date, then today's date is the date.
okay, that
Yeah,
picks
if
up.
you
Okay.
don't mention date and time, for example, the effective
Oh,
date
Mm,
is just a date.
mm,
Entry is date and time actually, right? If you don't give it, then it will
mm.
take effective date as today, and then entry date and time as that the moment you run, that is the date and time it will pick up. Default one. Yeah, good. Yeah. So now here, as I said, so there is one more way. This will take little time, right, to understand how this works. And then in the response group yesterday we were talking about it, right? So we have all this groups actually. So reference, personal information, employment, compensation, company hierarchy, cost center. All this are the sections that are available as part of your output. Now your requirement is to get the skills of an employee, for example, right? The requirement is I want to get all the employee skills as part of my output file. Then you want only the skills. Then in that case, what you do, you keep only the skills, and then if you go on top, you want some reference actually, right? Whatever the employee that we get, include reference is nothing but the employee ID, and name will come, the basic details, right? You want only skills, then you keep only the skills response group, and then for example, what else we have? A contract data they wanted, then keep only the contract data, then remove all the response group. Then what we are trying to do here, yesterday we got like 900 output lines actually, correct? We are trying to reduce the number of output lines per worker for a performance wise. Yeah. Okay, now I'll delete remaining all because I don't
output
want all
lines,
this.
output columns, we are trying to reduce it. That's all right.
Sorry, output.
No, output columns that we want to
uh,
reduce it and the lines, right?
no, this is the XML output we are getting it, right? That's why I'm saying the output lines, the tag I'm talking about.
Okay. Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, in a reporting world, if we talk, then columns actually, multiple
Yes.
fields we are
Okay.
talking
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it actually, right? So now this get worker is going to get you like 1,000 fields, okay, 1,000 fields of information of an employee, right? But you want only information for like 10 fields. So
Yeah.
for your 10 fields, why do you want 1,000 fields information of an employee? It is waste actually. You're not going to use it, right?
Mm.
So limit your output to that 10 fields. Yeah. Okay.
So I just have a question. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's maybe different. So if you consider a scenario in staffing where I saw that it says edit position restrictions,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a scenario where it says delete equal to true. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a requirement where, I'm editing position IDs. I imagine
Mm-hmm.
like there are three position IDs, and two of the position IDs, I have this certification requirements where they are changing it, but the third position ID, they are not changing the certification requirement. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, when we run this particular request, it picks up only those two which are having those certification ID that are set to true. The third
Mm.
position ID, it's not picking up. So is there a way how we can get that position ID picked up? Because the other requirements which are on the top, it's satisfying it, but just the certification requirement, it's not satisfying. So
It is not picking. When you say it is not picking, in web service, it is not picking.
yes, that's correct. In web service, it's not. Even though the data is being given, but in web service, it's not picking up because it doesn't meet that specific criteria related to what do you call the certification or something.
Okay, so if I understand correct, you are trying to fetch a position data. For
Hmm.
two, you are getting, for one, you are not getting.
Yes, that's
Right?
correct.
So
Yes.
then we need to check the filter criteria. Which filter is blocking that actually?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So generally, web services, as I said, we can, if there is a web service, and it will pull all the data in the tenant. If it is not pulling, then definitely some filter criteria is not matching yours. That's why it is not pulling. Right. So yesterday I didn't give any employee details, right? So it
Hmm.
picked up all the 800K employees actually. But if I give one filter criteria, right, saying that
Hmm.
don't pick an employee who is on leave, for example, right? Somewhere it will be
Okay.
there. Otherwise, sometimes we need to check the web service how it is written actually, right? For that, what you have to do, you have to go and read this actually. Yeah, what is that it is picking? Am I using the right web service actually? Right?
Hmm.
That how do you know? Come on, go back. So here in the description you have it, right? Read this description. Okay,
Hmm.
so you said it isn't staffing, yeah?
Yeah, staffing.
Okay, so you go to staffing.
And if you can go
Come on, Control F, staffing. So,
and if you
so here
uh,
in
edit
staffing,
edit position restrictions, you
uh,
see the
edit. This is create
position.
position, edit position restriction. So
That's the
here
one.
you have, yeah, so here you read it says edits an existing position restriction, uses the edit position restriction business process.
Hmm.
All right. And then go inside and then see what are all the parameters that we have to pass it. And if you are not getting, we need to check which one is blocking it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, y-
So,
Yeah,
so come here.
what I noticed was, if I that as I told you, if you can check certifications, if you can just search for certifications, you'll see it in the bottom.
So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's the one. If you can click on that one.
this one, right?
Yeah. So you see this in the bottom, you see here the certification reference, it says as true. On the top, you see it's saying as, if delete is yes, do not send any certification. So there I made delete is false and
If
it is sending.
do not
Yeah,
send any certification, this is a
yeah.
division replacement.
So if
Mhm.
delete is false, just replace the data. But if there is a position with no certification, then it's not even picking that position, even though there are the other criteria on the top related to job description or changes. So that's where I was.
We need to check then. Okay, so probably this, but you're changing this delete to equal to false, right? And probably
Mm-hmm.
that is blocking it. Then we need to check that particular position, why it is not picking. And again, the data is, we are applying a kind of filter here actually. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that filter is blocking it probably. Yeah, we'll just give more information. Probably I can check and tell you why it's not
Okay. Sure.
picking it.
Sure. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay. Okay, good. So, Anshuman, have you got this answer? So, I mean, you can go to this page and then check which are all the optional fields. You want a response filter, right? See, this all are optional fields only, right? I want only worker reference. I'll just give a worker reference 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I can remove rest all the data. I don't want any request criteria because I'm not going to put any request criteria. And my response filter also, I don't want to give it. I can remove it because in this page, if you look at it, all are optional. Correct?
Yes.
Either you give or don't give, it is going to fetch it. But now you have a requirement. Your customer says, I want to fetch, I want to fetch the data from Workday, but for every request, you are going to fetch 1,000 records per call. Then, though it is optional, your requirement says you have to fetch 1,000, then you need this tag to be present. If they say 500, then you're going to use it actually, correct? So that time you need this.
Okay,
If
got it.
customer says, I want the data as of specific effective data, right? Then you need this actually. Or if the customer says, I want to pull, when you run the integration, that time whatever the data is there, you just pull all the data. Then you don't need a date parameter here. I'll just delete it. It is just based on requirement. What is that you wanted? And you need a response group, minimum one response group, right? We are telling the system to go and fetch something, and we have to tell what to fetch actually, correct? So we need minimum one response group so that you'll get the data. See, the web service can be as small as this also. Yeah, this is very small
Yes.
actually,
So
correct?
a quick question, Suresh. So every single web service has a request and response in this way for the SOAP or not necessary?
It is okay. The question is, if it is a get workers, then it is going to
Mm-hmm.
be in this way. Okay.
Okay.
If it is a put, which
Mm-hmm.
is you're updating Workday, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You're updating data into Workday. Then in that case, you don't require a response from Workday. What you want is you are going to update in Workday, correct?
Okay.
In
Yes.
that case, the structure is going to be different.
Different.
So it
Okay.
is all about what type of operation that you are going to do using the web service. If it is get data from Workday, this is the structure mostly will be built, mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. There is another way also you can do. Let me just quickly show you. Is get workers, get workers. The worker. Yeah. So get workers. So here there is one more. Some web services will have this Workday Web Service Builder Wizard. Right. So whatever I'm deleting manually, right? This will do it for you. Now you want to search by worker ID. Then you select this, give next. See what is this response group you see? I deleted manually, right? So here it is giving you option. What is it you are looking for? Right? So you select, I want data for, where is that? Compensation, for example, right? Because your requirement is for compensation. And I want data for goals. Once you select that, then finish. You see here, this is built for you. I selected compensation, I selected goals, right? And then I
So,
think these are by default it has come actually. If you want it, you can keep it, otherwise you can remove.
so this one is done for every single web service. We can build it this way, right? You're
But
saying
if Workday gives that option, Workday gives
gives
this
us.
option for a,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
for a specific web service. So when you
Okay.
go and right click, yeah, and if you get this Workday web service builder wizard, then your job is much easier.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you want
Okay.
all the workers, then just select next, finish. Okay, select whichever the fields that you wanted. Now benefits I wanted, and you give the page and count here. I want 100 per count, and finish.
This looks much simpler, right? We could, we can
I can
just have the
show this on the first day itself, but you don't know
okay.
what is happening in the background
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct. So suddenly you go here, and then web service will look like 1,000 lines, right? Then you should not get frightened. Hey, I've seen only 4 or 5 lines only. How come suddenly 1,000 lines are coming, right? So that's why I'm showing at the end how simplified you can get it. Actually, you see, the web service can be as simple as this. Yeah. Once I get the credential right, I'll just run it and show you. Okay. Any questions on Schema Explorer web service? Web service using a SOAP wrapped request or Workday Web Service Builder Wizard.
What is that create soap message there? What does it do?
Create soap message. So this one I have never tried,
So
honestly.
Right.
most of the things you are doing the get means extracting kind of outbound your functions you are using it.
That's
Usually
correct.
the inbound we are using the put only, right?
That's correct. Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
Because
So
I see
this,
most of them are the put inbounds than the outbounds in the
yeah,
integration.
we'll come there. I'm just showing how we can get it actually. I'm going to come there, right? Where you want, for example, staffing. Staffing. Okay, staffing. Now you tell me one action that you want to do. I mean, inbound. What data you want to update? Just give something.
Say worker only.
Huh?
For worker only. New
Ah,
worker.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Worker should be fine actually. Right. So there is a create position, for example. Right. How do you create position? So if you look at here, and again the same actually. So here you are creating a position. Right click. So this is a create position web service. You see a bigger one, right? So when you try to update the data into Workday, that's when you have to sit and see how my web service should look like. So web service preparation is must actually. So we'll prepare when we go for a inbound integration actually. Yeah, I'll show how to do that.
The problem which I see here is, Suresh, to understand those, how we are going to match it with the workday requirement. You see, this web service, they generically they are saying that worker reference. So it's not, we are not sure which worker reference, right? So here, for example, in this case, it's saying as contingent worker reference, but if it doesn't say that way as a type, so it's really difficult to figure it out. So does this web service clearly mention everything that needs to be put for that particular
That
reference?
that yeah. So now that what you can do, you have to just go and find out worker reference. It says type as contingent worker ID. Correct. So now you
Mhm.
go here, and then this is staffing we are in, right? Give me a second. Staffing, create position. Sorry, this is close position. That is create position, and then and here for each and every field that you see over there, worker reference you saw there, right? So here worker reference is so default the person making the comment to processing the person if not submitted via web service. So we should not use worker reference. So the first worker reference is for pulling the data actually. Where is it? This one actually. But we are not going to get the data using this, or if we are going to update the existing position, that's when we will go for this actually. Otherwise, for each and every field or every tag, you can come here and then search what is that uh, it will uh, it will take actually. Okay, so here supervisory organization object. So it says you have to provide at the rate of descriptor what is the supervisory organization object ID, right? So like that for each and every field, it will be mentioned what is that type and what it allows actually. So for example, here you have a worker reference contingent worker ID, but you don't want to work on contingent worker ID. You want employee ID, correct? Then in
Yeah.
that case, what you have to do, you have to know you have to go and check in tenant what is the reference ID type for employee. So since I know I'm just typing, this is employee underscore ID. It should match. If it is not matching, then it is not going to work. Okay. So here, JWords. And JWords, right. So where is JWords? Let me see. Let's go. Okay, so I'll check any employee. Okay, so here, this is employee ID. This is just a label name actually, but what you want is the ID, right? So here, actions, go to integration IDs. What do you see? Integration IDs, view IDs. So here you will have the reference ID and what is the type,
Oh, type which is okay. Okay.
right? You have to go and find out what is the type. So
Mhm.
here we are using Workday type. Then you have to go and find out what is the reference ID type. And you see here, I entered small d here, correct?
Okay. Okay.
And
Okay.
here we have capital D. And if it is
Yeah.
not matching, it is not going to work. So,
Okay. Okay.
so for all the data preparation, you have to go and check in Workday in case if you are changing some of the type, you have to match exactly what is the type reference that we have in Workday and then replace it. Okay. Oh, good. So this, for inbound, we'll prepare, Anita, one, yeah, when we do the integration actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, any questions? I think we are taking more time here. Any questions here as of now? No?
No.
Okay, let's move on. So now we're going to create a studio project actually. Okay, how do you create a studio project? Go to File, New, Workday Assembly Project. So here you have to give the project name actually, right? So let's put Day 3, Studio 1. I very good. Or SD1. Okay. So now this is the project name that I give it and click on next. It will ask for a collection name actually. So if you don't give a collection name, by default it will take the project name as a collection name. Okay. So project name is your integration name. Oh, sorry, your local uh, project explorer will show that project name, whereas the collection name is the one that is going to show in the Cloud Explorer actually. Okay. So I'm not changing collection name. I just finished it. Now I got the empty project that is created. Day 3, Studio 1. Under that, you will see JRE system library. Again, Java based libraries are loaded over there. And then the other folders you will see, mainly these are all for runtime. It will just pull it up. We are more interested in the assembly, right? So this assembly, when you double click this assembly, you will get the assembly page. Okay, will come there. Then you have a member of this is in case if you want to go for a collection, or you want to add a sub assembly, for example, right? You want to add another studio code as part of your code, then it will be coming as part of a member of actually. Under that you can add it. Okay, adding a project as part of the collection. Yeah. And then other folders, mostly for build and then src, we are these are all default folders that are studio creates by default, right? But we are interested in this wsr inf folder actually. Inside this, whatever the xslt that we add, any new file that you add it as part of your assembly, everything will be listed over here. Or you want to give an input file from your local, then you will be placing the file inside this WSR folder, and then from here you will pick it up actually. Okay, so that's how this is how a folder structure of an studio project will look like. Right now, this we call it as palette. So this palette is nothing but, let me minimize this. This palette is nothing but all the components that we use as part of our studio program. Now all are lying over here actually. Yeah. So if quickly I'll just go through favorites. You can add whichever the components that you use. Annotation, when you uh, so now you want to start a studio program, right? And you want to give a title actually, right? I'm going to write day 1 Studio, and this is about a simple okay ST program, right? And you want to type something like what is this recall what is this integration is going to do. What I'm going to say, so this first step where we are, so this here what we will do, we will this is we'll do a logging, and then uh, and then okay, let's go, come on, and then we will go for a, we are not writing a big program, right? I'm just giving some example actually here. Okay, let's some sample, right? So you can just write. Usually, what we do here, we maintain the law, the version also, right? So here we will say, so this program, the version is like version 1, right? And then you have all your writings. You can just give it actually, right? So this annotation is nothing but for beautifying and keeping the assembly in place. We are using this. Okay, let me pull this. Come on. Okay. Okay. The same way, this is a rectangle, and you want ellipse. You can get the ellipse one also. Depends upon what is the annotation that you want to give it actually. So you will know when we use it actually where exactly we will use. Swim lane is nothing but there are many components that will be using it, right? But when I drag and drop those components, so for example, I'm dragging this component, right, and then I'm dragging this component. Then what I have to do, if I have to keep it in straight line, I have to find out, oh, is it straight line? Oh no, it is not. I want to keep it here. Is it up or down? Is it in the straight line? You're not sure, right? So you have to streamline all this components in a single line. That's where we call swim lane comes into picture. So you put a swim lane and you drag and drop the components inside swim lane, then it will take care of all the arrangements. Yeah. So a proper studio coding should have a swim lane from my perspective, because when you look at the code, it should clearly say what you're going to do. Okay, what is this program is going to do? So we'll talk about it a little later, but swim lane is nothing but for ordering our, now if you right click, show properties view, um, so this is the properties view actually, correct? Yesterday we were saying, right? So this properties view, you'll get a lot of tabs actually. Mostly when you pick up a component, we will go just click on that component and then click on properties. Then we will get the property of that swim lane. So now I click the swim lane property, and then these are all the properties for the swim lane. Now this is in a horizontal mode. I want in a vertical. Then click on vertical. Then this will get changed. Yeah. Alignment, this is by default, it is beginning. The highlighted ones are the one that is selected. And if I give middle, then it will go for end. Otherwise, whatever or however you want to portray your alignment, you can just give it. The label, right? Whether it's a left alignment or center alignment, right alignment, right? We can give that actually. Now this border, which is color in case if you want. Generally, we won't touch all this actually, right? With default, we'll just leave. Yeah, but you have all these options. What is the line color? What is the fill color, right? What is the font that you want it? What is the line style? Everything you can change if you want it. Yeah. Default custom. Okay, what is the color we had it? That's fine. Later. Okay, that is where we have the swim lane actually. Okay, so these are all for ordering. I mean, to keep the components in order, to beautify our code to present in a very neat way. We are using all this annotation related components. Any questions? Nice. Oh, no questions. We'll move on. Next one. Okay. Any program, any Workday Studio program should start any program, okay, project should start with the Workday in component. So this is the first component. So if you have a Java background, that void main we give it, right, where to start the program. So we are telling the system or studio that there are 100 components are there in the system, but we are telling the studio project that you go and look for a start here, which is nothing but a Workday in component. So Workday in component is the one it will look for when you run the project. Yeah. So any project, when you open an assembly also, you have to open and then see where is the Workday in component. Okay, we good. So that is Workday in component, and so there is a local in. Okay. So now let's put this way. I'll just put a swim lane. I'm going to do. So now you have a swim lane. Inside swim lane, we have a start in. We'll go inside what are the properties that we have actually, right? So we have a launch parameter, we have a services. We'll talk about it a little later. I'm going to concentrate only on the components actually. So you want to use a, uh, okay, subroutine. Okay. So typically, a studio program will call it as main assembly. Right? This is main assembly. So your main assembly should say what this project is going to tell you. Okay. So now start in is your project, and then after that, what do you want to do? I want to pull a report from Workday. Correct. That is my second action, for example. But I don't want to do a report pulling as part of this swim lane, but I want to do it as a sub assembly. You know what is sub assembly, right? Nice.
No, Suresh.
So okay. So when you write a code, you can write in a single line actually, right? Then if you are using 100 components, then it will just keep on going in a single line actually, right? Right. So I can just add. Let me just put this. When I add, okay, I'm just adding all these components. Then what will go? If there are 100 components, for example, then it will just keep on in single line. It will go everything actually. It is not maintainable, right? It is not easily readable, right? Then what we do, we break that into a what is the action that you are doing. Based on that, we will split into a sub assemblies. Now your code, it is going to start. Give me a second. So it is going to say, I'm going to do a Rascal here, for example, and then after Rascal, why I'm doing this Rascal, I want to do a field validation. After that, I'm going to do a no file extraction. I'm going to do, okay, and then here I'm going to post a soap call. Right? So this is my, hey, what is this? Whatever I type this, huh? Okay. Ras, yeah, and then this is extract and process, and then this is soap, right? So now you have this. This is your flow. You see this, how I'm connecting the component to component. You can connect by clicking the component and then add this outgoing connection, right? The blue color one, click that, drag and drop, and add it to the component that you wanted actually. Click on this, pull this, connect to the next one. Yeah. So this is how we connect two components actually. Okay. So the last one I'll say this is logging actually. Okay. So this is my main assembly. So my main assembly is saying clearly what is this program is doing. I'm going to go for a RAS call. After that, I'll extract the file and process it. And then I'll post SOAP, and then I'll log what I have posted. right? So this is your main assembly. So first it will come here to the start in, the Workday in component. Then it will come for a RAS call. In this RAS call, we have to say this is a local in, right? And we have to put a local out. I think I'm putting the other way around if I'm not wrong. Give me a second.
So RAS file means you are reading the file using
Uh,
RAS.
Sorry, no, RAS is getting a report data from Workday to this assembly.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Put as a
Yeah. So now here call subroutine. So here you have to give the endpoint. So this endpoint is nothing but okay. I'll just show there is one put integration message. Don't get confused. Okay. Just wanted to show how this works actually. There is one more component we have put integration message. This put integration message. Why I'm going here? I want the endpoint for this actually, right? So I'm just copying this put integration message. I'm going to call subroutine. I'm going to add it over here, and I want the project name actually. Give me 1 second. This may be a little first time when you do, it'll be a little confusing. I'll tell you what I'm doing actually. Give me a second, please. Yeah. Okay. I'll come there here. Sorry. So this is your local out. So we are telling the system Workday in is your component. You start the program here. After that, I am going to local out. The local out is nothing but it says call RAS, right? So we are telling call RAS local out. This is a sub assembly that we are going to write it. When you click on this call RAS, it will look for you're telling this is local out. Then where is the in, right? That will look for an in actually. And that in I'm telling you go and search VM colon double slash day 3 underscore st underscore 1. This is my project name actually, right? We are telling the system this is my project name. In the project name, there is a local in which is named as RAS. You go there. So I'm giving the RAS component here actually. Yeah. So everywhere you will just pull. The connection will be like your blue color icon. You just drag and drop. You'll do it, but only for just make a note. Only for a local out and local in, you will be giving an endpoint where it should go. Right now, you have given the URL here properly. Whether is it going here or not, that you don't know, right? Then you right click this and then declaration in workspace. When you click on this, the cursor should come here, which means these two are interconnected. Right? Is it clear? Fast?
connection. No need to specify it, call RAS to RAS. Just you are calling from the properties, but
Yeah. Right now, I'm not calling RAS actually. Okay, I'm just showing how this local in, local out connection works between these
okay.
two. These two interacts. How it interacts? It is interacting through the endpoint.
So just a quick question here. We can use that blue icon, whichever you are pointing to this one, right? That would already give it to the endpoint, right? That would come to the endpoint, right? So
Okay, so let
yeah,
me do one thing.
yeah. Why would we specifically do? You see, yeah.
You see here, it is not
Oh,
connecting here.
okay.
That's why I said this one component, local in and local out component is exception.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because we are telling the system it is an sub assembly. Correct. So
Okay.
because it is sub assembly, it is looking for
The
a endpoint.
endpoint. Okay.
Endpoint it
Okay.
will look for actually. Yeah. So that's why I'm telling the exception only. So this is local out component. When there is a local out component, there should be a relevant endpoint which links to that local in component. Okay. So now you want to do you want to pull the report and all the stuff, so you will be adding the components here, and it is completed. Then this is completed, right? Then after that you want to extract, then you put another extract, and here there is a local in, right? And from here you put an endpoint. We will go through it actually when we create a report, right? And then we will continue that. Then what will happen, you will have a swim lane, right? You will have a swim lane, one for RAS, right? And then other one, you will have another swim lane that will be for extract and process, correct? Yeah. And then you have soap. Then I'll have one more swim lane. And yeah, so what we are doing here, right? So we are defining a main assembly that this is my project is going to do, right? I'm going to call RAS, I'm going to process file, I'm going to post the data, I'm going to log it. And where I'm calling the RAS, you go and check this data, I mean the assembly over here. There is a sub assembly, right? And there is an extract process, and here your code will be, component will be lying actually, right? The same way for soap, you'll have another swim lane. For logging, you will have another swim lane. So when you look at the program, it will be neat. Now you want to do an R&D, okay? So you want to check whether RAS call is working or not, but you don't want to post the data into Workday. Then simply you go and remove this connection. Then what it does? It will process only until here. It won't go after this. Get me? Let's make it interactive.
Yes.
Yeah. So for your coding, for your debugging, right? For all those, you want to check. You don't want to pull RAS call. You want to pull only the file from SFTP directory. Then don't connect this RAS. No? From here, you directly go here. Then this is not connected. Correct. From start here, you are going and pulling the file. For debugging purpose, I want to check whether this my file fetching the file from SFTP is working or not, right? So that happens over here. So that way, our coding will be very neat and clean. Debugging will be much easier. Yeah. So we looked at start here, local in, local out, 3 components. I'll just go quickly. So this is Workday out rest component. So using this out rest component, we make a RAS call, right? You want to pull a report data into Workday, then we use Workday out rest component. So here we have to give the path from where you are going to pull the data. Yeah, so that is Workday out rest. Okay, another 5 minutes will close it actually. Okay, so this is Workday out rest. Then Workday out soap. You want to pull the data using a soap call. Then we use the Workday out soap call. So here we will say application from where you want to pull the data. So here my web service is in staffing. Then you select the staffing and version. What is the version we had it? We have seen the version here, right?
41.3.
41.0. Yeah. So we have to type it as V41.0. Then what it will do? It will go and search a web service in staffing application, and it will look for a version 41.0. So that is Workday out soap component. Okay. I'll just come next. Local in, we talked about it. Local out, we talked about it. This is HTTP out. So you want to post the data using an API call. Then we will use this HTTP out. Right? You want to send the data to SFTP folder or FTP folder. Right? We will use this SFTP out. There is another way to send the file. I'll just show how we can send the data to SFTP. We can configure a service, actually, delivery service. We'll talk about it. We will not use this component very regularly. I'm just telling where we will use that. Then XAMPP out, mostly we won't use it actually, right? Email out, there is a requirement you have to send the email through this project. Then we will use the email out component. And then the most used component in Studio is async mediation. Okay. this is a serialized processing, right? So it will go. So first it will come to start in, and then it will go and find out what is the next component. It is a call res. Then it will come to call res, then complete all, and then it will go and fetch a next one, right? And then like that, it will go component by component. It will be processing and then moving actually, right? But
So,
now,
quick question here. You said you're going it by component, right? So here, for example, there the locally you're saying call RAS and it goes to RAS output. So uh, the output is coming here, but how exactly you're saying that, the output is next one will go to the extract process? Because here what you're saying is it's going from call RAS local into local out.
uh,
But how are we connecting? How does
this
this
is
call RAS?
interconnected. This is interconnected because you have to see this, okay? Call res is coming here, and then
Mhm.
all this component will be executed. And once
Yeah.
the last component is executed, it will go back to this component.
Oh, okay.
Then after that, where it is connected, extract
Oh,
process.
okay,
So it
okay,
will
okay.
come and it will complete all the components. After the last component, it will go back here, right?
So, okay,
So, so
okay.
that's why I call it a sub assembly, right? You come
So,
here and then complete all the components, then go to next, complete all the components, next, all the
okay.
components, right?
So basically anything has to be divided this way, like every single assembly has to, I mean, assembly project or studio project has to be divided
This
this way.
way, when you code it,
Okay.
then it shows your experience actually, right? I,
Okay, okay.
yeah, I can put all these components in single
Yeah,
line
yeah,
also.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
yes.
that shows you are a beginner. Okay,
Okay, okay.
because you don't know how to use the subassembly,
Okay,
right?
okay. Yeah.
When you put all the components in single line and you want to cut in between, so for example, I'm putting all these three components here actually, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Now I will be connecting all this one by one, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And suddenly I don't want to use a call ras component. I want to use only extract process. If all these are there, then I have to remove all these three
Right.
arrow marks, correct?
Yes, that's good.
Instead, if here I'll be removing only one.
One.
What if the last one I want to test it? Then I have to change from starting to end, right?
Mhm.
And once your debugging is completed, I have to connect again everything, correct?
So here, this HTTP out, how does it know it has to go back to that call RAS again once it's done here? So
No, that's
are we
Studio is defined. So here, whatever the last component, after that, if there are no components, it will go back.
go back? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
okay.
Now, async mediation. So, async mediation is a mediation context. Mediation context is nothing but you want to do some manipulation on strings, right? Some certain components, if you try to pull, for example, where is that? Eval, for example. Mediation, validation. Yeah. Eval, if you drop it outside, it won't come outside actually, right? The ones that is not going inside an assembly directly, which means it's a manipulation of string or any component actually, right? So you have to use the async mediation to use that particular component, right? So async mediation is a container. That container holds all the string manipulation, validation. All this part are coming inside async mediation. Yeah, you pulled out a RAS report. After that, you want to segregate the data. How do you segregate the data? You will put a async mediation, right? And then inside async mediation, you get the XML output that you got it, and then you split the data into multiple properties, and then you process it. So async mediation is the most used component in assembly. Okay, let
Sorry, I
me just
couldn't follow what this async mediation will do. So I
async
couldn't.
mediation. Okay, all these components can work on its own. Let's put that way. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but there are string manipulation or validation components, right? So which is like eval, right? And XSLT, right? You want to do a transformation. So what is that you are doing? You are doing a string. I mean, the data you are getting, and you are transforming the data. Correct. So
Mm-hmm.
all these are data transformation, data manipulation, data validation, all these components that are using data part that will come inside a async mediation component, because that string manipulation requires a space where I will do it. There should be one dedicated space, a container to do it. That container is
Yes.
async mediation.
So can we
Okay.
consider this as a filter kind of thing or no?
No, it is not a filter. It is a container.
It's a
Container.
It's a
transformation,
box,
you can say.
right? You
Okay,
want to
okay.
do so everywhere there is only one component you will say here, but in the async mediation you can add multiple components under one actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So what does this mean? So this means you are giving a box. Inside the box, you are saying that you do all these manipulations, and I need a box to club everything under one actually. Correct. Yeah. So that's
So
where
what
this async mediation comes into picture.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
what is the difference between async mediation and sync mediation?
Okay, async mediation, it's a one way actually, right? It will just go forward only. Okay, it will go only forward. But sync mediation, where is the sync mediation? Sync mediation, it can communicate both the ways. You see the arrow marks? You
Okay.
put the data inside. I mean, you want to do a manipulation, you do the manipulation here, and after that, you want to send the data back. Then it's a two-way communication.
Okay.
Yeah, async mediation only one way. It's a asynchronous and synchronous, right? Call.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a synchronous call. This is asynchronous call. Yeah,
Okay.
sync mediation we use, but very very rarely we use it actually. Okay, good. I'll just quickly close other items that we use. Route. If you want to put a condition, actually, you route it when if an employee is male, route it to different direction. If employee is female, route it to another direction. Right? Then you put a strategy over here. How do you want to route the flow? Actually, right? There we use the route component, and then splitter. So the splitter, you got the input file from your okay, so this is where we get the input file, right? So you get an input file, and once you get an input file, extract and process, you get an input file. The input file, what you are going to do, it's a CSV file. Then you are going to transform that file from CSV to XML. There is a component that we call CSV to XML. So you see, CSV to XML is not coming in directly. What I have to do then? Async mediation.
Yeah, sync mediation.
Yes, you need an async mediation because it's a CSV to XML. It's a what do you call uh, data manipulation we are going to do actually, or data transformation we are going to do, right? So CSV to XML, you are adding it over here. So you get the data in, and you convert the data from CSV to XML. And after you converted the XML, you want to split the content. There are 10 records are there, but I want to go individual record and then split one by one and then do a calculation. So that's where the splitter comes into picture. You got an XML file. That XML has 10 records. You split it. After you do the splitting, what you do? You are doing some manipulation, right? That manipulation comes here, right? And here you want to put a validation. Okay, we're talking about field validation, correct? So we are doing a validation inside here. For example, validate. We have a sorry. This is XML validation. This is ML validator. Right? Sorry, this is the one. Give me a second. What is this
How
one?
do we know which one will go into which when we are selecting like that? Async or the sync or the splitter or route?
See, that's where you have to know what you are going to do. The designing part we talked about it, correct?
Oh,
When we design an integration, you know this flow actually. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pick up a file from SFTP directory, and then I will convert that into XML. I will split the file into individuals, and then I'll do a validation, and then I'll concatenate all the 10 files that I have. Then I'll deliver. Right? This is the design. So as per
Suresh,
the design, which component you are going to use, that will be decided. Yeah, Karthik.
yeah, yes, okay, okay. Here the splitter you're saying, right? What if we
Hmm.
don't use the splitter? What
what
would,
will what will happen then? What will
yeah,
happen? You will get all the 10 records at a time actually.
okay.
when you get 10 records at a time, but your ask is there are 10 employees you are getting it. Okay. But the 10 employees, you have to go and check individual employees' salary is greater than 10,000 record. Okay. That is the ask.
Oh, okay. So it
Right.
will
Then
go
what you have
through.
to do? For all the 10 records, you have to split one by one. And then for
Yeah.
individual employee, what is the salary? And then is the salary greater than 1,000 or not?
Okay.
That's when the splitter we need it.
Okay.
Yeah. Anita, you following? Anshuman?
Yeah, so far, yep.
Yes.
So far? Okay. Yeah, probably when I show
Yes.
the real time, you will see actually. Right.
So,
So,
is
mhm.
there any document is available what exactly each component is doing like that?
So if you want that, you can click on this component, right? And then if you come down, there is a help component, help we have,
Okay.
right? Click on this help. I can do one thing. I can try to get something, but this is the easiest way, right? CSV to
Okay.
XML, what are the properties and what it does.
Okay.
My document may be, old. If you want the right one, come down, click on help because Workday updates every time actually, right? Tomorrow
Okay.
I'll say that this property is not there, and tomorrow Workday will add that property. Correct. Then my statement
Okay.
will become wrong actually. Correct. Yeah. So
Okay.
better to use this help component always, so because this is always up to date.
Okay.
Yeah. So we use the splitter to split the data. Now you have 10 employees, you split it and you found that there are 5 employees are greater than 10,000 records. Then what you have to do? You should combine all the 5 records and then give it one. Correct. Otherwise it will be individual records coming out. Correct. So how we do that? We will search for an aggregator. I saw aggregator. So this is aggregator. Right. So using aggregator, you do the split and then you do a validation. After that, whatever the validation is done, then you are aggregating the data so that I'll get one file or one variable with all the output values. Okay. So just keep in mind, these are all, I'm just explaining the components that we use it regularly. Okay. What is the use of it? We'll go, when we develop an integration, we'll show how this works. Yeah. So we have gone through this async mediation, route, splitter, aggregator. And then we here in this, we use the put integration message. This put integration message is nothing but adding the data into event. That is what this put integration message does. Okay. Then this workspace component we don't require. Error handler we need it actually. Right now I'm doing something actually here and some error happens here actually. Then what? How do I capture that error? Right? How do I capture that error? So here that's where come on. Here we comes send error. Now you are checking the salary is greater than 10 or 10,000 or not. What if the salary is less than 10? Then it will error out. Then what do I do with that error? Right? This is where the try catch mechanism for error coming out actually. The send error is a component. Okay. And here all this are transform component. XSLT plus is for XSLT 3.0, XSLT is for XSLT 2.0. Okay. Then all the other components, text to Excel, and then text schema. You don't need this right now, but in case if your requirement is I'm going to give a text and you have to convert that to Excel, then you can just simply use this component. The same way XML to Java, XML to JSON, JSON to XML, Java to XML, all this are based on what is the input that you get it and what is that you want to change it to, right? Mostly we use CSV to XML or XML to CSV, mostly, right? These two components are very much we use. Yeah. Then we talked about ETV and XTT. We have as a component also over here actually. Then logging. Now I got a error, but I have to log that somewhere, correct? How do I log that? I can log that using a log file, right? Where is it? Yeah, I can using log file, I can log it, or I can log it using a cloud log. These two components are there for logging purpose. Yeah, log or cloud log. and then copy. We'll talk about copy when we work on it. Write component is the one where you want to go for a SOAP component, or you want to call a web service, right? How do you call a web service? You need to prepare a web service request, correct? Where do you update the web service request? In write component. Write component is not coming here. Why it is not coming? Because it's a manipulation, so it has to go inside async mediation, right? So write component is where we input our data. Okay, then we have validation, 3 components. We'll just go through, and then these are all encryption. PGP key encryption, decryption. Base 64 is nothing but our, if you want a photo to be pulled out, right? Then base 64. All these are for encoding and the decoding part. Zip, unzip, compress a file, decompress a file. All these components are available. Other than that, we have a store component. So you got a 5 output file here actually, right? Or 5 transaction data that we got it. You want to store the data in a file, then we use this store component. Store component is the one which will store your output value. Okay, and then retrieve we'll talk when we work on it. We generally we won't use this retrieve, instead we'll use the retrieve service. Okay, whatever the components that you see here on this assembly, these are all the mostly used components when you build a studio project. Yeah, we'll go through component by component tomorrow. You got some feel how these components, how this local and local out works, what is Workday in? Yeah.
So what we are using for if else condition route?
For if else condition, yeah, correct. We'll go for a
Okay.
route. Otherwise, we can use in the eval itself, we can put a if else. Here you will
Okay.
add a expression actually. So here you will add if else condition, or you
Okay.
can use route condition.
Okay.
Depends upon the requirement.
Okay.
Suggest open this palette and go through this individual components, right? What does this component does? What does this component do? Right? For any project, you need a global error handler, right? We'll talk about it later. So this error handler is the one. If you are not try catching any error, right? There is some error happened actually, but you are not catching it. Then it will crash the entire program, right? But I don't want that error program to crash. Instead, if I put a global error handler, whatever the try catch I did not do, this global error handler will catch it. Okay, you did not catch it, I'm going to catch it and then throw error. So any program will have this global error handler by default. Okay, so go through the components, right? Individual components, you can go through help, right? Just look at it, and what does this component do? I will share a document also, what this component does especially.